Hey my fellow weebs, this is going to be a super short recap of The Water Magician. Make sure to watch it until the very end. Rio and his roommates take a job to escort a merchant to the port city, then bring him back to Loon after 10 days. The merchant is going there on business, as the Whitnash Open Festival is going to be held there. The event is like the Olympics, and happens only every 5 years, so every single one of them is excited to be a part of it. After reaching the city, Rio and his friends try out some local delicacies, like octopus and squid, and they're glad they took this job, since they can now enjoy the festival for the next 10 days without having to do anything else. Meanwhile, the Inferno Mage, who has taken the job of guarding Fiona, the princess of this kingdom, suspects that something sketchy is brewing in the royal family, but he isn't certain what just yet. Speaking of Princess Fiona, she is currently attending an important gathering of nobles and is mentally exhausted. Her brother Conrad notices this, so he asks her to get some rest. With permission to leave, Fiona heads back to her bedroom. She is more suited for commanding and fighting as the commander of the Mage Order and isn't cut out for these meet and greet events. The next day, the Whitnash Festival begins, where Rio and his gang find out that Abel is also attending the event in the VIP guest section, with Princess Fiona sitting right next to him. Abel's teammates meet with Rio and mention an interesting fact. The Lord of Whitnash has a treasure that can create a wind barrier, which he's been using to protect the VIP guests, since many members of the Imperial family are also seated there. They also mention that Rio's potential rival, the Inferno Mage Oscar, is attending this event as Princess Fiona's knight, so the girls warn Rio not to go looking for trouble. However, just as they leave, Rio runs straight into Oscar, the Inferno Mage. Oscar doesn't recognize the white-haired prodigy, but he does sense something special about him. Rio's roommates Amon and Ato take part in an archery event, but they fail to hit the target and lose. Abel shows up to flex his skills and instantly becomes the center of attention. Abel's teammate Rhea appears with a creepy smile, hiding her anger, and asks Abel where he was all day. Lynn explains to Rio that Abel was supposed to go out on a date with Rhea, but backed out at the last second, which is why Rhea's mad. Rhea drags Abel away, and the boys can't help but admire Abel for landing such a goddess with ease. Back in Loon, Sarah is at the library as usual. After spending most of the day there, she heads to the Adventurers Guild looking for Rio, as she's found a lead on the demon race. Learning from the receptionist that Rio won't be coming back for at least a week, Sarah gets upset. She desperately wishes to see Rio's cutesy face, and wonders how she's going to survive alone. Niels and Amon participate in a boat race event, and everything goes normally, until Niels gets into a fight with another racer, causing both parties to lose the race. However, they still receive a special trophy for entertaining the crowd, and then end up fighting again over the trophy. While everyone in town is enjoying the festival, somewhere in a secluded alley, a sinister group is planning to attack the nobles at night. After sunset, Abel, acting as the guildmaster's proxy, joins the party hosted by Prince Conrad and Princess Fiona at their mansion. Abel isn't interested in interacting with socialites, since he's only there to protect the nobles in case of an attack. But he doesn't think he needs to worry much, because there's a wind barrier around the mansion. However, the treasure artifact that was conjuring this barrier suddenly stops channeling mana, causing the barrier to dissipate. In that instant, the men guarding the treasure are wiped out by a shadowy figure, and immediately after, another shadowy figure attempts to assassinate Princess Fiona. Meanwhile, Princess Fiona's protector, the Inferno Mage, Oscar, is outside in the city, unaware that the princess's life is in danger. The only reason he isn't currently worried about the princess's safety is because he is confident in the wind magic barrier's abilities. But little does he know that the barrier has already been deactivated by the intruders. Going back to the noble mansion, the intruders wreak havoc everywhere, and although Fiona manages to protect herself from the initial attack, her brother Conrad, however, who isn't too experienced in combat, gets heavily wounded. To heal her brother, Fiona quickly conjures a small barrier around them, but Conrad tells her not to worry about him, and instead go save the others who are helpless in this sudden ambush. So Fiona quickly brings her brother back to safety before making an emergency flare light, signaling to Oscar and his team that she is in danger. The overpowered main character also sees the emergency signal, but acting dumb as usual, he assumes that it's just some flashy fireworks. Some of the intruders, in the meantime, spot Fiona by tracking the source location of the flare light, so Fiona gets ready to fight them all. The enemy, however, is too powerful for her to handle, so she can only act defensively before her mana runs out. Oscar and his team arrive a little too late as they helplessly watch Fiona get caught by an explosion. Oscar, being Fiona's sensei, can't bear to see his disciple face such terrible circumstances, so he becomes furious. Thankfully, though, Fiona survives and, coincidentally, enough flies exactly where Rio's friends are, where, amongst them, Niels catches her safely. 2 intruders follow Fiona there, but the 3 adventurers manage to defeat them with ease. Oscar rushes there as well, but seeing Fiona unconscious in Niels' arms, he assumes that the 3 adventurers are the culprits behind the attack. Rio wouldn't have been involved in this situation, but for plot convenience. But just minutes ago, the 2 members of the attackers who attacked the 3 adventurers dashed past him, making him suspicious, so he followed them to the place. Currently, at the seashore where the 3 adventurers are, Oscar seems to have lost all reason. He attacks the adventurers, demanding them to step away from the princess, but they refuse as both parties think of the opposition as the villain. Rio reaches there just in time and uses his ice magic to shield his friends from the Inferno Mage's outrage. Rio tries to talk reason with Oscar, but the guy has already lost his mind and won't stop until he gets back Princess Fiona from them. But unfortunately for him, Rio's ice magic is far superior to his fire magic. Oscar tries to fight back, but Rio skillfully closes in and both bring out their swords for an intense battle. Thankfully, before the situation escalates too much, Abel comes there and clears up the misunderstanding of both sides that they are all trying to protect the princess here. Rio, however, doesn't care anymore, because he isn't letting Oscar go that easily since the guy hurt his friends. Rio also couldn't care less about royalty, nor the princess, so he is okay with freezing both the white-haired idiot and his precious princess to death. As he threatens to hurt the princess, the Inferno Mage fumes with rage and attacks Rio with all his might. But if he had played Pokemon in his childhood, he would have known that fire is weak against water type. Abel once again intervenes, calling Rio a stupid brainless baboon for going out of his mind in an unnecessary situation. He makes it clear to both of them that their recklessness will cause an international war, and once again tries to convince Rio to forgive Oscar for his actions. As he stands firmly between both of them, Rio puts down his blade, respecting Abel's sternness, and walks away from the scene. A few days later, everything comes back to normal, and Rio's friends get released from the hospital as well, reuniting with Rio. Princess Fiona summons Rio's friends to reward them for saving her life, but not Rio, because the only thing he did was almost start an international war. Soon after, the group heads back to Loon and gets on living their regular life again. Sarah, on the other side, becomes restless, having not seen Rio for days. It's clear that she has totally fallen in love with this boy, and when she randomly finds Rio in a local restaurant, she breaks into tears of happiness. They talk for hours and share what they'd done for this past week. Sarah brings Rio back to the library and gives him the special alchemy notes he'd been looking for. While talking about random stuff, Rio comes to learn that Sarah here is a 200-year-old hag, but ignores it since she's pretty. They both go to a transcriber together to copy some spells when they run into Abel. Seeing Rio acting so normal and friendly towards Abel makes Sarah jealous, so she forces him to act the same way with her and become her friend officially. After this, Rio keeps living his slow life like he's used to. One day, Rio decides to buy a proper house to live in, and with Abel's help, they find a farmhouse out of town. Rio loves it and makes the house his own. Angel Michael reveals he has been keeping tabs on Rio's journey, and he becomes surprised after seeing how complicated Rio's journey will become in the future because of his connections with complicated people. What will Rio experience in the future? We'll find that out in Season 2 of The Water Magician. Before leaving, comment down below if you want us to recap any other anime. Do subscribe to help us grow, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.